The first Trails of Cold Steel game was my first entry point into the Legend of Heroes series and what got me hooked into the franchise in general. This game is the third entry of that subseries and is part of the larger Trails of games, which started with the Legend of Heroes 6 Trails in the Sky. The first part of the review is the story. The story and plot is heavy on war and politics, with the country of Erebonia having just occupied the state of Crossbow. Like the other games in the series, the story starts out really slow, but that's fine, as the game is heavy on world building and character development. In the game, you play as Rin Schwarzer, now an instructor in the Twor's military branch campus. You will be joined by your students Juna, Kurt, and Altina. Regarding the characters' personalities, most of them have your typical anime traits like being too cheerful and optimistic. But don't be fooled though, as each of them has their own personal conflicts and reasons for joining the school. You will learn more about them as the story progresses. Characters from previous games will also be introduced along the way, and may sometimes even join your party. One thing that I like about The Legend of Heroes is the way it handles character growth. You can really feel that your initial party is maturing throughout the story. Due to the game having a large cast, the previous characters that were introduced in the first two games didn't really have enough room to grow, as they don't get enough screen time. One thing to keep in mind though is that while the game is numbered 3, you're actually introduced to a new set of characters, with the exception of your main protagonist and Altina. This actually makes it easier for newcomers to enjoy the game and not feel lost. The story pacing is episodic and done in chapters, with each chapter focusing on one city. This kind of pacing felt restrictive and gets in the way of feeling like you're on an adventure. You can still wander around outskirts of towns and dungeons, and the exploration field is huge, but it feels more like you are on a field trip rather than adventuring. Each chapter also offers some side quests. Most of them were your typical slay this monster quest or some fetch quest. There are also some character related side quests that were written nicely. The combat system of Trails of Cold Steel is one of the best turn based combat systems in my opinion. Enemies roam the field, and making contact with them will initiate a battle. You may also surprise them by attacking from behind. A successful ambush means that you'll get a lot of turns before your opponent does. Successfully ambushing your enemy will also give you the advantage of breaking your opponent's guard much faster. The battle system also resembles Final Fantasy X's system, but much better. You can even say that it is an evolution of FF10's combat system. Basically, your characters and your opponents are placed in a turn slot, and you can see whose turn it is to attack. Some skills can delay your opponent's turn, making them fall off the turn slot and allowing your other characters to take their turn. But beware, your enemies can also do the same. Some turn slots also provide bonuses like critical strike or health regen. During a character's turn, there are several actions that they can take. The most basic is a normal attack, which deals damage to your opponent depending on that character's power and weapon strength. There's not much to say about this command, so we'll move on to the next, which is arts. Arts is like magic in other RPGs, but the difference is you won't be able to cast it immediately, as the casting time depends on the strength of your arts, with the stronger arts taking much longer to cast. But don't fret, you can still customize your characters to shorten their casting time. The next command is move, which allows your character to move around the battlefield, either to get closer to an enemy or to dodge an enemy attack. Beware though that you won't be able to do anything else, as moving also consumes a turn. Next we have the crafts. Crafts are learned by your characters as they level up. They're gonna be your bread and butter throughout the game. Crafts consume combat points or CP, and the stronger and more powerful crafts consume more CP. Do not worry, you will also accumulate CP when doing damage or taking damage. Next, we have the S-Craft. S-Crafts are powerful arts, which you can use once your CP hits 100. Most characters' S-Crafts deal huge damage, although there are also some defensive S-Crafts, which you can use in a pinch. The good thing about an S-Craft is that you can use it anytime, making room for some tactical decision. New to the game is the Brave Order. Brave Order consume Brave points, ranging from 1 to 5. Brave Orders provide bonuses to your characters for a number of turns. This can really turn the tide and save you from a pinch. The good thing about Brave Orders is that they don't consume a turn, meaning your character can still act after using a Brave Order. In battle, your characters can also be linked up to another party member. When two characters are linked together, they provide special bonuses to each other during the battle. Linked characters also unlock Rush. When your character deals a critical strike, their linked party member can do a follow-up attack for 2 Brave points. Later on, you can also perform a team attack with all of your party members, but it will cost you 5 BP. Aside from the normal combat, there are also mech battles that occur. It kind of reminds me of Xenogears and Xenosaga series. The mech battles differ slightly than your normal battles. Here, you must expose your opponent's weak points to deal damage. Rack up brave points and you can unleash deadly combos on your opponent. While in battle, you can also swap your active character with one of your reserves. Your newly swapped character can still act. If you're the type of person who likes customizing your character's stats, then you're in for a treat, as Trails of Cold Steel offers you a great way to customize your characters. This can be done by equipping your characters with quartz. These quartz are like gemstones that can be equipped into your Arcus. The most powerful are called Master Quartz, and they can be leveled up to 7. Your characters can equip up to 2 Master Quartz each, and you learn useful skills as they level up. Aside from that, there are smaller gems that can be slotted into your Arcus. Once equipped, they offer a lot of bonuses such as stat bonus and additional arts. You may also shorten your art's casting time. Overall, if you spend a lot of time with it, you can create a powerhouse of a character. There are also some minigames thrown in, like the Vantage Master's card game and the fishing minigame. Vantage Master is this game's equivalent of Blade, which was the card game present in the first Cold Steel game. However, I find myself liking Vantage Masters more as it plays like your typical trading card game, where you summon monsters and cast spells. You win the game by reducing the life of your opponent's character to 0. Its mechanic feels somewhat similar to Hearthstone and Force of Will TCG. Next is the fishing minigame. Here, it is made much simpler compared to the previous games. This change might be good or bad depending on how well you like the fishing mechanics from the first game. Personally for me, I like this game's fishing mechanics better as the previous games make my thumb sore, just from mashing 3 different buttons. Now, you only have to press one button to reel the fish. Although there is still some strategy required. Reeling the fish too fast while it's resisting might cut the line. However, if you're too relaxed, the fish might get away. So you have to find the right timing on when to reel. The music in the game, while not as good as Cold Steel 1, is still pretty solid overall, especially the main battle soundtrack. The soundtrack for boss battles are also good. The rock band-esque theme gets me hyped for the battle all the time. The music also changes depending on the status of your characters in battle. The music for towns and dungeons also fit the vibe and the environment. The town music makes me nostalgic for the old school RPGs from previous generation. Like the previous 2 games, Trails of Cold Steel 3 is also developed using the Fire engine. However, It looks much better graphically compared to the first two games. The characters' rendering are more detailed and the skill and movement animations are more fluid. And while I am sad that Falcom dropped the PS Vita, since that's where I played the first two games, I can't fault them with this decision, since the Vita is kind of holding back the game graphically. For those who want to play this game on a portable console though, then you don't have to worry. This game is also available on the Nintendo Switch. I certainly recommend this game for all JRPG fans, especially those who enjoy great world building. Can I play this game as a standalone? Yeah, you can, but I recommend at least playing the first two Cold Steel games, just to familiarize yourself with the characters and the setting, especially with the main character Rin and his old crew. Both games are available on the PS Vita, PS4, and the PS3. However, to appreciate the incredible world that Falcom has created, it would be best if you could play all 8 of them, as Cold Steel's story is a part of a much bigger and grander overarching story. This for me is one of the series' strengths, as it feels like you are reading a grand novel spanning multiple books. It can be difficult to find them all, since they are spread out on different systems. Your best bet is on the PC, since 6 out of 8 games are immediately available on Steam. The only exception were the two untranslated games, which is only released in Japan. Overall, this is one of my favorite games, and I'm excited for Cold Steel 4 to be localized. Kudos to Falcom and the Trails team for keeping the story interesting. Thank you for watching my video, and if you haven't already, please hit the like button and subscribe.